Chosen one, this message you're about to hear is a divine revelation from the throne home of heaven. Pause. Breathe. Because heaven did not interrupt your moment to entertain you. Heaven interrupted to reassign you. This is not encouragement. This is instruction. God is narrowing your focus, stripping away the noise, and declaring with clarity, from this point forward, there is only one job. Hear this carefully. Seasons change when assignments change. And the reason distractions feel heavier lately is because they are no longer allowed to travel with you. What used to be optional has become illegal in the spirit. What you tolerated before will now delay you. Heaven is not asking for balance. Heaven is demanding obedience. This is not about doing more. It's about doing what God said without negotiation, without delay, without excuses. This is serious. God is not angry. He is precise.
He is removing secondary missions, side quests, emotional detours, and people-pleasing habits because they compete with the mandate on your life. You've been trying to carry too much, please too many, and explain yourself to voices that were never assigned to you. Today, heaven says, drop it. Your only job now is alignment. Your only job is obedience. Your only job is to guard what God entrusted to you and move when He says move. When He says move, it's not a suggestion. It's not a request. It's a divine command. Heaven is preparing you for something so much greater, something that cannot be delayed by what no longer serves your purpose. God is asking you to drop the weight, to release the distractions, and to focus entirely on the assignment He's placed before you. That is your responsibility now, to listen, to trust, and to move in complete obedience. Every moment of hesitation is a missed opportunity. You cannot afford to hesitate anymore. Before we go further, if your spirit confirms this word, act on it now. Like this message as your agreement. Subscribe so you don't miss the next word heaven releases. Drop your city and nation in the comments so we can see where the remnant is rising. And to those who are supporting us by giving into this ministry, whether through the link pinned in the comment section or super thanks features, know this: you're not just supporting a message, you are partnering with a mandate. Your seed is a prophetic yes that says, God, I accept the reassignment. May it rise as incense, silence every distraction, and fortify your obedience. Now stay with me. Don't scroll away, because in the next moments, we are going to expose what this one job actually is, why heaven made it non-negotiable, and what will happen if you delay. When you hear it fully, you'll understand why God refused to let you miss this word, and why your future depends on what you do next. Many people think reassignment means correction. They assume that when God shifts their role, changes their focus, or increases their responsibility, it is because something went wrong. But in the kingdom of God, reassignment does not mean demotion. Reassignment means trust. It means God has evaluated your capacity and found you reliable. In the natural world, fragile vessels are handled gently and given light tasks, but strong vessels are entrusted with weight. God does not give heavy assignments to people He does not trust. He does not place responsibility on those who are unstable. When God reassigns you, He is saying, you have proven faithful where you were. Now I can trust you with more. To whom much is given, much will be required. Luke 12:48. This scripture is not a warning meant to scare you. It is an explanation meant to steady you. Increase always comes with expectation. Favor always carries responsibility. Elevation always demands maturity. If the weight feels heavier now, it is not because God is trying to overwhelm you. It is because the oil is greater. Greater oil requires stronger structure. Greater influence requires deeper roots. Greater assignment requires a stronger inner life. God is not rushing you. He is reinforcing you. What you are sensing right now, the pressure, the urgency, the inner stirring, is not confusion. Confusion scatters. This feeling is focused. It has direction. It has weight. It is purpose knocking from the inside, asking to be released at the right time and in the right way. There is a reason your tolerance for distraction has changed. There is a reason certain things no longer fit. The season you are in right now is one of preparation, a time when God is removing the old so that He can make room for the new. He is recalibrating you for what is next, not punishing you for where you've been. Reassignment is heaven's way of saying, I trust you with this level.
It is proof that God sees stability in you, growth in you, and capacity in you. And though the weight may feel new, you are not unprepared. You have been trained for this moment longer than you realize. It is important to understand that God doesn't give assignments without preparing you for them. He doesn't place you in situations where you are bound to fail. Even if it feels like you're unqualified or inadequate, God has equipped you with everything you need. The only requirement for this assignment is obedience. If you are willing to follow His lead, then everything will fall into place. The training you've undergone, the struggles you faced, and the lessons you've learned have all been preparing you for what is to come. But here is the key. You cannot carry destiny with divided attention. God is not asking for a portion of your focus. He is asking for alignment. What He is preparing to place in your hands requires clarity, consistency, and commitment. A distracted heart cannot steward a serious assignment. Distractions are dangerous not because they are loud, but because they are familiar. They blend into your routine. They feel normal. They don't announce themselves as threats. They slowly pull your attention away while convincing you that nothing is wrong. That is why they are so effective. Some distractions are people you love. Some are habits you tolerate. Some are cycles you keep revisiting because they feel safe. But safety is not the same as obedience. Comfort can become a cage when it replaces conviction. Familiarity can become bondage when it keeps you from moving forward. The moment you allow comfort to dictate your decisions, you limit your potential. God is not calling you to remain comfortable. He is calling you to be faithful. And sometimes faithfulness requires stepping out of what is familiar, stepping into the unknown, and trusting that He will guide you. God is not asking you to abandon everything.
He is calling you to discern what no longer belongs in this season. What once served you may now slow you. What once comforted you may now compete with the mission He has set before you. Destiny demands pruning, not because God is harsh, but because fruit requires space to grow. No one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God. Luke 9:62. Looking back doesn't mean sinning. It means hesitating. It means splitting focus between what God is calling you into and what He already told you to leave behind. Hesitation may feel harmless, but in a season of instruction, it becomes costly. Delayed obedience does not only affect you, it echoes forward. What you postpone today can become a pattern tomorrow. What you tolerate now can shape generations after you. That is why distractions must die. Not tomorrow, not gradually, not when it feels convenient, but now. Not out of fear, but out of clarity. God is not rushing you. He is protecting what He has already placed inside you. This is where many chosen ones struggle. You don't battle obvious evil. You battle options. You are not constantly tempted by darkness. You are distracted by what looks harmless, reasonable, even wise. That is why discernment becomes more important than desire at this level. Good options, comfortable options, popular options. Things that don't look sinful, don't sound wrong and don't raise alarms, yet quietly pull you off alignment. The enemy does not need to destroy you when he can simply redirect you. A slight turn in the wrong direction can lead miles away from destiny. But God is not asking you to choose what feels good. He is asking you to choose what is right. What feels good often satisfies the moment. What is right protects the future. Obedience is rarely the most convenient option, but it is always the safest one. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Proverbs 14:12. That word, death, here doesn't mean sudden destruction. It means wasted potential, delayed purpose, and a calling left unfinished. It means arriving at the end and realizing you settled too early. And heaven refuses to let your potential die unused. That is why God is narrowing your options. That is why some things no longer bring peace. That is why clarity is replacing comfort. God is guiding you away from what merely looks right into what is divinely right. Hear this clearly. God is not angry with you, but He is serious with you. This is not a moment of rejection. It is a moment of precision. When God becomes serious, it is because what is ahead requires accuracy, not excuses. When God becomes serious, it's because He is preparing you for something monumental. This is not about harshness or punishment. It's about positioning. The work ahead demands more than the casual approach you've been giving. The future that lies before you is greater than you can comprehend. But to step into it, you must align yourself with God's purpose. This is not an easy task. It requires courage, dedication, and focus. Distractions, even the ones that seem harmless, must be removed, because they are preventing you from walking in the fullness of your calling. Many people are afraid of the cost of obedience. But what if I told you the cost of disobedience is far greater? Delayed obedience doesn't just affect your life, it affects everyone around you. The ripple effect of your actions extends far beyond what you can see. When you hold back from obedience, you delay the breakthrough not just for yourself, but for those you are meant to influence. Your life is part of a much larger picture. The lives that will be touched by your faithfulness have yet to be reached, but they will be, and your obedience will unlock doors for them as well. Consider the impact of one obedient step. Think of the profound transformation it could bring. When you obey, you don't just change your own life, you change the trajectory of generations. Your obedience today is a seed for the future. This is why the urgency you feel within your spirit is real. God is aligning you with His plans for such a time as this. But timing matters. When God speaks, He expects a response. Hesitation can be dangerous because it allows room for confusion and distraction to creep in. God is calling you to act now. He has already provided the path. He's waiting for your willingness to step forward. It's time to stop overthinking and start walking. It's not about having all the answers. It's about trusting the one who holds all the answers. Your next step is not contingent on having a perfect plan, but on your trust in God's direction. Many of you have been carrying burdens that were never meant for you to carry. These burdens aren't just physical. They are emotional, mental, and spiritual. They weigh you down in ways you may not even realize. God is calling you to let go of what has been holding you back. These burdens are not yours to bear. Let them go. It's time to focus on the one thing God has called you to: obedience to His will. When you begin to move forward with obedience, God begins to release His power into your life in a way you've never experienced. He will equip you, strengthen you, and support you as you walk in His calling. But you must take that first step. You must be willing to let go of everything that hinders you and trust that God will provide everything you need along the way. You don't have to know how it will all unfold.
You just have to trust that God knows and that He is faithful. One of the hardest parts of obedience is the fear of what others may think. Many chosen ones struggle with the approval of others. We are taught to seek validation, to conform to societal expectations, and to be liked by everyone. But this is not your assignment.
Your assignment is not to please people. Your assignment is to please God. You may have to walk alone at times. You may have to make decisions that others don't understand, but that is the price of obedience. When you choose to obey God, you are stepping into a divine assignment that has eternal consequences, and those who understand it will recognize the power of your obedience, even if they don't understand the process. This journey of obedience is not about striving or forcing things to happen. It's about surrender. It's about aligning your heart with God's will and allowing Him to guide you every step of the way. God is not asking you to figure it all out. He's asking you to trust Him enough to take the next step. When you do, He will show you the next. It's a journey of faith, one step at a time. There will be times when you feel overwhelmed. You may question if you're strong enough to carry the weight of the assignment. You may wonder if you're truly qualified for what God has called you to do. Let me remind you of this. You are not called because you are perfect. You are called because you are willing. God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. Your qualifications are not based on your past, your mistakes, or your failures. They are based on your willingness to say yes to God's call. The beauty of obedience is that it frees you. When you align yourself with God's will, you no longer have to carry the weight of doing everything yourself. You no longer have to worry about whether or not you're enough. God will make you enough. He will provide everything you need to fulfill the assignment He has placed before you. Your only job is to stay aligned and to move forward in faith. In this season of divine alignment, God is asking you to surrender your fears, your insecurities, and your doubts. He is asking you to trust Him fully and to step out in faith, knowing that He has already gone ahead of you and prepared the way. He has placed everything you need for this journey inside you. Now is the time to step into your calling and to fulfill the purpose He has for your life. God is calling you to greatness. He is calling you to a life of purpose, passion, and impact. This is not just about you. This is about the generations that will be changed because of your obedience. This is about the legacy you will leave behind. The impact you make today will ripple out into eternity. It will change lives. It will break chains. And it will bring healing to the hurting. But it all begins with obedience. When you obey, you step into the fullness of God's plan for your life. It is in your obedience that the doors to your destiny will open. It is in your obedience that you will see the fullness of God's promises come to pass. Don't let hesitation keep you from stepping into the divine calling that awaits you. Remember, God does not ask for perfection. He asks for obedience. He asks for a willing heart. When you say yes to His call, He will handle the rest. You don't have to know how it all works. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to trust that God knows and that He will provide for you every step of the way. Your obedience will unlock the blessings, favor, and destiny that God has prepared for you. So, chosen one, let go of the distractions, let go of the fear, let go of the hesitation. Step forward in obedience and trust that God will guide you to the future He has planned for you. This is your moment. This is your time. God is calling you to move. Will you answer? The role of obedience in your life is not simply about following instructions. It's about trusting God's sovereignty over everything. It is about submitting your desires, your fears, and your understanding to the perfect will of God. You see, when God calls you to obedience, it's not because He needs you to prove something to Him. He already knows your potential. He knows what you are capable of, and He knows what He has already placed inside you. But obedience is a test of faith. It is a test of whether you truly trust God with everything. Many times, God's instructions don't make sense in the natural. They challenge your comfort zones. They stretch your understanding. But that is where faith comes in. You must trust that God sees the end from the beginning. Your obedience is a declaration that you believe His plans are better than your own. It's an act of surrender, where you lay down your personal desires and pick up the cross of divine purpose. The reason why obedience is crucial in this season of your life is that it connects you directly to God's will. It aligns your spirit with heaven's plans, opening doors that would otherwise remain closed. When you obey, you are positioned for divine intervention. Your obedience becomes a conduit for God's power to flow into your life and into the lives of others. It's a living testimony of faith in action. And every time you move in obedience, you unlock a new level of favor and blessing. But there is a critical aspect of obedience that many overlook: timing. Timing in the kingdom of God is everything. God's instructions are always on time, and when He tells you to move, the timing is always perfect. Delayed obedience doesn't just hinder your progress, it delays your destiny. God's plan for you is flawless, but your willingness to follow His timing determines how quickly things unfold. That's why hesitation is dangerous. Every time you hesitate, you delay the manifestation of God's promises in your life. Think of it like this. You are walking a path that God has already paved for you.
His instructions are the markers along the way, guiding you to the next step. But if you stop, if you wait, or if you try to figure out the plan on your own, you miss the markers, and the path gets more difficult to navigate. When you obey immediately, the road remains clear, and you continue moving forward with divine momentum. God is not interested in you rushing ahead without His guidance, but He is equally not interested in you dragging your feet, trying to get everything to make sense before moving. Trust is required here. Trust that God is leading you, even when you don't understand every detail. Trust that He has already gone ahead of you and prepared the way. When you trust Him, you will see doors open in ways you never imagined. The path will be smoother. The provision will be abundant. The peace will be unshakable. On the other hand, when you delay, you also delay the blessings that were meant to follow your obedience. The provision, the opportunities, the breakthroughs, they are connected to your movement. They are unlocked by your willingness to act. You may wonder, why does it feel like the blessing hasn't come yet? It may be because you've been waiting for things to be perfect before moving forward. But God doesn't need perfect conditions. He needs your willing heart and your obedience. The provision is already set in place. You just need to step into it. Here's the truth. Delayed obedience is just as costly as disobedience. When you fail to obey when God speaks, you are essentially choosing to miss out on what He has for you. The longer you wait, the longer it will take for you to get to the place where God wants you to be. Some of you have been in this waiting period for far too long because you've been caught up in indecision or fear. But heaven is saying to you today, move now. One of the most powerful things about obedience is that it doesn't just affect you, it impacts the generations that come after you. When you obey, you are not just making a difference in your own life. You are creating a legacy that will impact others for years to come. Your obedience today will open doors for your children, your grandchildren, and even those who are yet to come. You are part of a much larger divine plan, and your obedience is the key that unlocks the future of others. There are some of you who have been waiting for God to do something in your life, but the truth is, God is waiting on you. He is waiting on your obedience.
He is waiting for you to stop waiting for perfect conditions, to stop questioning his plan, and to simply act. When you take that step of faith, the doors will open, the provision will come, the clarity will arrive. God is not slow in fulfilling his promises. He is simply waiting for you to move in obedience. What happens when you finally obey is nothing short of miraculous. When you step into God's will, the heavens respond. Angels are dispatched, resources are aligned, opportunities arise. There is a shift in the atmosphere. Your obedience activates God's power, and it begins to move things in your favor. The breakthrough you've been waiting for comes with ease when you align with his plan. Remember this: your obedience is never in vain. It is not a wasted effort. God sees your willingness and he rewards it. He knows the sacrifice it takes to step out in faith, and he will bless you abundantly for it. The rewards of obedience are not just material blessings, but spiritual growth, peace, and alignment with the divine purpose for your life. As you move forward in obedience, don't be surprised by the challenges that come your way. There will be obstacles, but don't let them shake your faith. Every challenge you face is an opportunity for God to show himself strong in your life. Your obedience will not only bring you closer to your destiny, but it will also strengthen you in ways you never expected. There will be moments when you feel like giving up, but don't. There will be times when it feels like the road is too hard, but don't stop. Your obedience will carry you through. And at the end of it all, when you look back on this journey, you will see how every step of obedience led you to a place of fulfillment, peace, and divine purpose. Chosen one, I'm here to tell you that this is your moment. The weight you feel is not a burden. It is the responsibility of greatness. The path ahead will be challenging, but it will also be glorious. Trust that God has already gone ahead of you and has already prepared everything you need for the journey. All that is required of you is obedience. God is ready to take you to new heights. He is ready to fulfill the promises he has made to you. But it all starts with one thing: obedience. Step out in faith, trust his timing, and move with purpose. Your assignment has already begun. Obedience is not merely a one-time act, it is a lifestyle. The truth is, you can't carry destiny with a sporadic willingness to obey. The path God has placed before you is one that demands consistency in obedience, a continual alignment with his will, and an unwavering commitment to follow him, regardless of how things may look or feel. It's about living a life that says, I trust God completely, no matter what comes my way. As you walk this journey, you'll be faced with choices that test your obedience. Some will be small, seemingly insignificant decisions. Choices about how you spend your time, how you treat others, or how you respond to situations. Other decisions will be major, life-altering moments that could alter the course of your destiny. But no matter the size of the decision, each act of obedience will be just as significant in the eyes of God. The way you respond to the small assignments matters just as much as the big ones, because God sees the heart behind every action. Every time you act in obedience, you are sowing seeds into the future. The fruit of obedience is not always immediate, but when it comes, it is abundant. There is a process in the kingdom of God. You may not see the full results right away, but God is always working behind the scenes. Every step of obedience is a step toward fulfillment, not just for you, but for those around you. Your faithfulness becomes the foundation upon which God will build the next chapter of your life and the lives of those who are connected to you. Sometimes, we are tempted to look around at others and question our own path. We see people living lives that seem so much easier, or we see them receiving what we think is the reward for obedience. But don't be deceived by appearances. God's timing is always perfect.
What looks like a delay is often just a preparation period. God is refining you, strengthening your character, and deepening your roots. He is preparing you to carry the weight of the blessing He is about to pour into your life. Remember this: God's blessing does not come without a cost. It comes with responsibility. It comes with the call to steward His gift with faithfulness and integrity. You have to be prepared to carry that weight, and that preparation often happens during the seasons when it seems like nothing is happening. During those times, God is molding you, teaching you, and building you into the person you need to be to handle the assignment ahead. And when it feels like the road is long and you're waiting for God's promise to come to fruition, remember that waiting on God is not wasted time. In fact, waiting on God can be one of the most productive things you do in your life. It is in the waiting that your faith is stretched. It is in the waiting that your trust in God is tested. It is in the waiting that God is preparing you for the breakthrough you've been asking for. During this season, God is asking you to trust Him like never before. He is asking you to stop looking to the left and to the right for validation and to start looking to Him. The moment you realize that your only validation comes from God is the moment you begin to experience peace that surpasses understanding. When you stop comparing your journey to others, when you stop seeking approval from the world, you will start to see that God's plan for you is far greater than anything you could have ever imagined. God doesn't measure success the way the world does. The world celebrates visibility, recognition, and worldly accomplishments. But in God's kingdom, success is measured by obedience. The true test of your life is not how much you've done or how much you've gained, but how well you have followed God's instructions, no matter the cost. God's approval is all you need. When you live in alignment with His will, you will find fulfillment, peace, and purpose like nothing else in this world can offer. Now, let's talk about the cost of disobedience. We have discussed the blessing and the reward that comes with obedience, but there is also a serious cost to disobedience that we cannot ignore. When you choose not to obey God, you're not only missing out on His blessings, but you are also putting yourself at risk of losing the alignment that connects you to His divine plan. Disobedience has consequences, and those consequences are not always immediately apparent. Sometimes, the results of disobedience are subtle. They come in the form of frustration, confusion, or a lack of peace. Other times, disobedience leads to more significant setbacks, delays, missed opportunities, or even a detour from God's intended path for your life. Remember that disobedience is not just about doing something wrong. It's also about failing to do what God is asking you to do. When God speaks, He expects a response. And when we choose not to respond, we are actively resisting His will. This is a dangerous place to be. God's call is not a suggestion, it's a command. And when we refuse to follow it, we are putting ourselves in opposition to God's will. The good news, however, is that God is a God of grace. Even when we stumble, even when we stray from His path, He is always ready to bring us back. His mercy is endless, and His love is unwavering. He is always there, waiting for us to turn back to Him, ready to guide us back on the right path. No matter how many times we've fallen, God is always ready to restore us and help us get back on track. That's why obedience is so critical. It keeps us aligned with God's will, and when we are aligned with His will, we experience peace, purpose, and fulfillment. But even when we've missed the mark, God's grace is available to us. He does not give up on us. His plans for us are still in place. His promises are still true. When God calls you, He calls you to obedience. It's not about perfection. It's about trust. Trust that He knows what's best for you. Trust that His plan for your life is better than anything you could have planned on your own. Trust that even in the waiting,
He is working all things together for your good. And so, as you move forward, remember that your assignment is not just about you. It's about the generations that will be impacted by your obedience. It's about the people who will find hope because of your faithfulness. It's about the legacy you will leave behind. Every act of obedience is an investment in the future, your future, and the future of those around you. God is calling you to step into this moment, to embrace the call to obedience, and to walk confidently in the path He has laid before you. It's time to stop hesitating. It's time to stop waiting for conditions to be perfect. It's time to move in the direction God is leading you. And when you do, you will find that the blessing you've been waiting for is already waiting for you on the other side of your obedience. As you continue on this path of obedience, one thing is certain. The road ahead will not always be smooth. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you question if you made the right choice, and times when you feel overwhelmed by the weight of the responsibility. But let me remind you, chosen one, that every single step you take in obedience brings you closer to the divine purpose God has set for you. When you choose to walk in obedience, you are actively participating in something much bigger than yourself. This journey is not just about your personal growth, but about God's kingdom moving forward. It's about fulfilling His plan for your life, which will have ripple effects far beyond what you can see in this moment.
You are part of a divine narrative that spans generations, and your obedience is a key element that will unlock the fullness of God's purpose. But the journey of obedience is not always easy. There will be sacrifices. There will be moments when you have to let go of things that once felt comfortable. And in some cases, you will have to make hard decisions that others may not understand. That's why it's so important to keep your focus on God and not on the opinions or expectations of others. When you're aligned with God's will, His approval is all you need. You don't need to seek validation from others because you are already validated by the Creator. In fact, one of the greatest tests of your obedience will come when others question or misunderstand your decisions. There will be people who don't understand why you're making the choices you are, and there may even be times when you're criticized for being too serious or too focused on your calling. But understand this: your obedience to God is not about pleasing people. It's about pleasing God. Your divine assignment is between you and God. People may not always understand your path, but when you obey, God will make a way where there seems to be no way. Remember, the world doesn't always recognize greatness in its early stages. The work God is doing in your life right now may not be visible to everyone around you, but it is no less important. God is preparing you for something greater, and sometimes that preparation requires obscurity. Just as Jesus spent years in quiet preparation before stepping into His public ministry, God is quietly working in you, shaping you, and molding you into the person He knows you can be. He's building your character, strengthening your foundation, and teaching you lessons that will prepare you for the responsibility that lies ahead. Don't despise the hidden seasons. Those moments of quiet, unseen work are crucial. They are where your roots grow deep and your spiritual maturity is developed. If you rush ahead and skip the process, you risk missing out on the very foundation that will support the weight of your future. Take this time to focus on your relationship with God, to strengthen your inner life, and to trust that He is preparing you for what's to come. Obedience also requires surrender. It requires you to let go of your own plans and desires and trust that God's plan is better. This doesn't mean you won't have dreams or desires. It simply means that you hold them loosely and allow God to shape them according to His will. Sometimes, the path God leads you down won't align with what you expected. It may look different than you imagined, but trust that His plan is always greater.
What God has for you is far more fulfilling and satisfying than anything you could have planned for yourself. The reality is, chosen one, your obedience will cost you something.
It may cost you time, comfort, or relationships. It may require you to step out of your comfort zone and take risks that others might shy away from. But every sacrifice you make is an investment in the future. Every step of obedience you take strengthens your faith and builds your capacity to handle the blessings and responsibilities God has for you. And it's not just about the immediate blessings. Obedience opens the door to a deeper relationship with God. When you walk in obedience, you are aligning yourself with His heart. You are saying, I trust you, God. I trust your timing. I trust that you know what's best for me. And as you trust Him, you will experience His presence in a deeper, more intimate way. There's a peace that comes with obedience, a peace that surpasses understanding and helps you remain steady even when the storms of life rage around you. But let's be clear, obedience isn't just about the big moments. It's in the small, everyday decisions that you demonstrate your faithfulness to God. It's in how you handle your time, how you speak to others, how you manage your resources, and how you respond to challenges. The little things matter just as much as the big things. Your obedience in the small things prepares you for the larger assignments God has in store for you. There will be days when it feels like nothing is happening. You may be following God's instructions, staying faithful, and doing everything right. But the breakthrough seems delayed. This is when you must hold on to the truth that God is always working behind the scenes. Even when you can't see it, He is moving things into place. His timing is perfect, and He will not let you miss what He has prepared for you. Trust that His plan is unfolding exactly as it should. In those waiting moments, remember that God is not a God of delay. He is a God of perfect timing. He is building something in you that will withstand the weight of your calling. Every trial, every challenge, every season of waiting is part of His plan to strengthen you and prepare you for the assignment ahead. And when the moment comes, when the door opens, you will be ready. Your obedience will have prepared you for what lies ahead. As you walk in obedience, understand that God is not simply fulfilling His promises to you, He is also positioning you to fulfill His kingdom purposes. Your obedience doesn't just change your life, it changes the world around you. Your faithfulness will impact the lives of others, drawing them closer to God and inspiring them to step into their own divine calling. Your obedience is part of a much larger narrative that will ripple through generations. Chosen one, God has called you for this moment. He has called you to walk in alignment with His will and to trust Him completely. Don't let distractions, doubts, or fears hold you back. The road ahead is not always easy, but it is full of purpose. Every step you take in obedience will lead you to the fulfillment of the promises God has for your life. Trust the process. Trust God's timing. And know that as you walk in obedience, you are walking in the very footsteps of destiny. The future is waiting for you, and it is filled with blessings, purpose, and impact that will change the world. As you continue on this journey of obedience, understand that it's not only about the external steps you take, but about the internal transformation happening within you. Obedience is a process that works in layers. At first, it might seem like a simple yes or no decision, but as you continue to walk in God's will, you begin to see that obedience is more than just actions. It's a matter of the heart. The deeper you go into your journey with God, the more He asks of you, not just in your actions, but in the alignment of your heart. God doesn't just want your obedience in what you do. He wants your obedience in why you do it. He wants your heart to be fully surrendered to His purpose. There's a difference between doing the right thing because you feel obligated and doing the right thing because your heart is fully aligned with God's will. When your heart is aligned, your obedience becomes effortless. It's no longer about following rules, but about fulfilling a divine purpose that you've become passionate about. This is where spiritual maturity comes in. As you grow in your relationship with God, you move beyond the basics of obedience and begin to understand the heart of it. God doesn't want a half-hearted commitment. He doesn't want you to obey Him out of fear or obligation. He wants you to obey out of love, knowing that His plan for you is better than anything you could ever imagine. The more you walk in obedience, the more you begin to see the beauty of His will.
You begin to understand that His ways are not restrictive, but freeing. They are the pathways to peace, joy, and fulfillment. But let's be honest, this type of obedience can be difficult. There will be moments when God asks you to do things that don't make sense. There will be times when the cost of obedience feels too high, when the sacrifices seem too great. It's during these moments that you have to make a choice. Will you continue to trust God, or will you allow fear, doubt, or confusion to derail you? Here's the truth. God's will for your life is always good, even when it's hard. His plans for you are always for your good and His glory. The Bible tells us in Jeremiah 29:11 that God has a plan for your life, a plan to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. That promise is true, no matter what obstacles or challenges you face along the way. God will never lead you down a path that leads to destruction.
He leads you in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Psalm 23:3. It's easy to forget that when we're in the middle of hardship, but it's in those very moments that God is doing something powerful in your life. Every step of obedience, even the ones that feel painful, are preparing you for something greater. God uses your faithfulness to shape you into the person He created you to be. The struggles you face, the trials you endure, the sacrifices you make, all of these things are working together for your good and His purpose. Sometimes the road of obedience feels like a lonely one. You may feel like no one else understands the weight you're carrying, or that others are living easier lives, free from the struggles you face. But let me remind you that you are not alone. God is with you, and He is working in and through you. He sees your efforts, and He is pleased with your faithfulness. In fact, He is using this season of obedience to refine you and prepare you for what's next.
When we think of obedience, we often think of the tangible results, the doors that open, the blessings that come, the miracles that happen. But true obedience is not always about the results you can see. It's about what happens in your heart. It's about the transformation that God is working in you. Every time you choose to obey, you are becoming more like Christ. You are being molded into the image of the one who perfectly obeyed the Father's will, even unto death. Jesus' obedience led to the greatest victory the world has ever known: your salvation. That's the power of obedience. It is not just about following a set of rules. It's about partnering with God in His redemptive work. Your obedience, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, is part of His larger plan to bring restoration to the world. You may never fully see the impact of your obedience, but rest assured, it is making a difference. God is asking you to walk by faith and not by sight.
He is asking you to trust that He has already gone ahead of you, preparing the way. He is asking you to step out into the unknown, knowing that He is with you every step of the way. Your obedience is not in vain. It is a declaration of your trust in God's goodness and faithfulness. When you choose obedience, you are choosing to say, God, I trust you. I trust your plan, even when I don't understand it. Now, let's talk about what happens when you face resistance, because you will face resistance. Anytime you step into God's will, the enemy will try to stop you. He will try to distract you, discourage you,
and derail you from your path. But here's the good news. Greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. 1 John 4:4. The enemy may try to create obstacles, but God has already equipped you to overcome them. The same power that raised Christ from the dead lives in you. You have the Holy Spirit, who will guide you and strengthen you in your moments of weakness. When the enemy tries to distract you, don't give in. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith. Hebrews 12:2. When the enemy tries to discourage you, remind yourself of God's promises. He has promised never to leave you or forsake you. Deuteronomy 31:6. When the enemy tries to make you doubt your calling, remember that God has chosen you for this moment, and He will equip you for every good work He has prepared for you. 2 Timothy 3:17. Resistance is inevitable, but it's also a sign that you are on the right track. The enemy only resists those who are a threat to his plans. If you weren't making a difference, he wouldn't bother you. The more you obey, the more you will experience resistance, but also the more you will experience victory. Each victory strengthens your faith and makes you more effective in your calling. Keep going. Don't stop. Your obedience is breaking down strongholds and tearing down the walls of the enemy's kingdom. You are advancing God's kingdom, and every act of obedience brings you one step closer to the fulfillment of your destiny. God has great plans for you, chosen one. But those plans require your obedience. They require you to be willing to follow Him wherever He leads, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, and even when others don't understand. The road ahead may not always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Every step you take in obedience brings you closer to the fullness of God's plan for your life. Keep going, chosen one. The best is yet to come. As you continue to walk this journey of obedience, there will be times when the weight of it all feels overwhelming. You will encounter challenges, frustrations, and moments when you question your ability to carry out the calling on your life. But let me remind you that God is not calling you to walk this path in your own strength. He is with you every step of the way, and His grace is sufficient for all your needs. One of the most powerful truths about obedience is that it doesn't depend on your own abilities or resources. It depends on God's ability to equip you for the task at hand. When God calls you to do something, He doesn't just expect you to figure it out on your own. He provides the strength, wisdom, and guidance you need to succeed. That's why obedience is such a powerful act of faith. It's about trusting that God will give you everything you need to fulfill His purpose for your life. God has already equipped you with everything you need to succeed. You may not feel fully prepared, but remember that God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. He has given you His Spirit, and that Spirit will guide you, teach you, and empower you to do what He has asked. All you need to do is be willing to follow His lead. It's easy to look at the challenges ahead and feel inadequate.
You may feel like you don't have the skills, the experience, or the resources to carry out the assignment God has given you. But the truth is, God doesn't expect you to have it all together. He simply expects you to trust Him. He will provide everything you need in His perfect timing. When you step out in obedience, God will open doors for you. He will bring people into your life who will help you, equip you, and support you. He will give you the wisdom and the strength to navigate every challenge you face. Obedience is a journey, not a destination. It's a process of continually aligning yourself with God's will, day by day, step by step. And along the way, God will be faithful to reveal more of His plan to you. As you move forward in obedience, you will gain greater clarity, greater understanding, and a deeper sense of purpose. God will not leave you in the dark. He will guide you with His Word, His Spirit, and His presence. However, in the midst of the journey, you may encounter moments of doubt, moments when the road ahead seems uncertain, and moments when the pressure feels unbearable. It's in these moments that your faith will be tested. But remember, God has already prepared you for this. He has already equipped you with everything you need to overcome the challenges in front of you, and He has promised to be with you every step of the way. When the weight of obedience feels heavy, it's important to remember that you don't have to carry it alone. God is with you, and He will give you the strength to endure. The Bible tells us that His grace is sufficient for us, and that His power is made perfect in our weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. When you feel weak, that's when God's strength shines the brightest. It's in those moments of weakness that you experience the fullness of God's grace. God is not asking you to be perfect. He is asking you to be faithful.
Obedience doesn't mean you'll never face challenges, but it does mean that God will be with you through every trial. His presence will sustain you, and His power will strengthen you. Every step of obedience, no matter how small, brings you closer to the fulfillment of God's plan for your life. It's important to note that obedience isn't always about achieving success as the world defines it. In fact, sometimes your obedience may not be immediately rewarded with visible success. You may not see the fruit of your labor right away, but trust that God is working behind the scenes. Your obedience is never in vain. Even when you don't see the results, God is at work. There's a powerful story in the Bible about the prophet Elijah, who was called by God to deliver a message to King Ahab and the people of Israel. Elijah's obedience didn't lead to instant results. In fact, after he delivered God's message, he was forced to flee for his life and spend years hiding in a cave.
But even in the wilderness, God was working in Elijah's life. He was refining him, preparing him for greater things ahead. When the time was right, God called Elijah out of hiding to confront Ahab once again, and Elijah's obedience led to one of the most powerful moments in Israel's history. Similarly, your obedience may not always lead to immediate results, but that doesn't mean it's not working. God is refining you, preparing you, and strengthening you for what's ahead. Trust that your obedience is part of His larger plan, and that He will use it to bring about His purpose in your life and in the lives of those around you. The cost of obedience is high, but the reward is far greater. When you obey God, you are positioning yourself for a life of purpose, fulfillment, and eternal impact. Your obedience will not only change your life, but it will also change the lives of others. Your faithfulness will leave a lasting legacy for future generations. You are part of something much bigger than yourself, and your obedience is a key element in God's plan for the world. As you continue on this journey, remember that God is always with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. He is faithful to fulfill His promises, and He will empower you to do what He has called you to do. Keep your focus on Him. Trust His timing, and remain faithful in every step of obedience. The road ahead may not always be easy, but it will be worth it. The reward of obedience is far greater than anything this world has to offer. Chosen one, God is calling you to a life of radical obedience. He is calling you to step into the fullness of His plan for your life. Don't hesitate. Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Step out in faith, knowing that God has already gone ahead of you and that He will provide everything you need along the way. This is your moment. Your obedience is the key to unlocking the doors of destiny. Trust God, follow His lead, and know that every step of obedience is bringing you closer to the purpose He has for your life. You were chosen for such a time as this, and your obedience will bring about a harvest that is far greater than you could ever imagine. As we continue on this journey of obedience, it's vital to recognize that obedience in the kingdom of God is more than just about following commands. It's about relationship. It's about partnership with God, aligning your heart and your will with His divine purpose for your life. Obedience is not a mere mechanical act, but a dynamic, ongoing engagement with God's will. It's about understanding that you are part of His plan, that He has uniquely chosen you, and that your role is essential in fulfilling that plan. Too often, we see obedience as something forced upon us, a set of rules to follow without question. But the deeper truth is that obedience is a reflection of trust. Trust in God's love, trust in His wisdom, trust in His timing. When you obey God, you are saying, "I trust you, God. I trust that you know what's best for me. I trust that your plan for my life is far greater than anything I could ever imagine." It is this deep-rooted trust that makes obedience a joy, not a burden. To truly understand the power of obedience, we must first recognize that God's will is always good. There is never a moment when God asks us to do something that will harm us. Even when the task seems difficult, even when it seems inconvenient or uncomfortable, God's plan for us is always for our good. The Bible tells us that God works all things together for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. Romans 8:28. This means that when we obey God, we are positioning ourselves for good things to come, even when we can't see how things will work out. Obedience, then, is the key that unlocks the goodness of God in our lives.
When we choose to obey, we open ourselves to receive all that God has planned for us. But this isn't just about receiving blessings. It's about participating in the work of God's kingdom on earth. Your obedience is a tool that God uses to bring His will to fruition. It's an invitation to be part of something far greater than yourself. Every act of obedience, no matter how small, is a step forward in the advancement of God's kingdom. There will be moments, though, when the path of obedience feels lonely. You may look around and feel like you're the only one making the sacrifice, the only one choosing to walk in alignment with God's will. It's in those moments that you must remind yourself that you are never truly alone. God is always with you, guiding you, strengthening you, and equipping you for the road ahead. Even when no one else understands the steps you're taking, remember that God sees your heart. He knows your sacrifice. He knows the battles you're facing, and He is with you through it all. In fact, sometimes the road of obedience is one that others won't understand. You may be asked to do things that seem strange, unusual, or even difficult to explain. When you step out in faith and obedience, it's often met with misunderstanding. But remember this: God has not called you to seek the approval of others. His call on your life is unique to you. While others may question your choices, God sees your heart, and He is pleased with your faithfulness. This is where the challenge of obedience becomes real. It's in the moments when no one is applauding, no one is cheering you on, and no one is supporting your choices. It's in those times that obedience becomes a matter of inner conviction. You're not following God because it's popular. You're following God because you know that His plan for your life is the best plan. You are choosing obedience because you understand the weight of the eternal impact your actions have. Your faithfulness to God will not only change your life, but will also change the lives of those around you. God never calls us to obedience without purpose. Every step of obedience is leading you towards something greater. It may not be easy, but it's always worth it. The journey you're on is taking you to a place where you can fulfill the divine assignment He has given you. Every act of obedience is a building block that will ultimately lead to your destiny. It's a chain of events that will unfold in the most beautiful way, even if you can't see it all right now. One of the greatest benefits of obedience is the transformation that happens in your heart. As you walk in alignment with God's will, you become more like Him.
Obedience is the process of being conformed into the image of Christ. Every time you choose obedience, you are participating in your own sanctification.
God is refining you, making you stronger, and helping you grow in His likeness.
This transformation happens from the inside out. It's not just about external actions, but about your heart, your motives, and your desires being shaped by the Holy Spirit. This is why obedience is not just a duty, it's a privilege. It's an opportunity to partner with God in His redemptive work on earth. As you walk in obedience, you are cooperating with God to bring His kingdom to earth, to see His will done in your life and the lives of those around you. You are part of the greatest movement the world has ever known, and your obedience is a vital part of that movement. But we must also acknowledge the cost of obedience. It's not always easy. There will be moments when you feel exhausted, when the weight of it all seems too much to bear. But remember this: every sacrifice, every step of obedience is an investment in your future. It is an investment in the legacy you are building.
Every time you choose obedience, you are leaving a mark on the world that will outlast you. You are laying a foundation for the generations to come. Your obedience today will create a ripple effect that will continue long after you're gone. The cost of obedience is high, but the reward is far greater. God promises that when we obey, He will bless us abundantly. This doesn't always mean material blessings, although God does provide for us in every way. But the true blessings of obedience are spiritual. When you walk in obedience, you experience peace, joy, and fulfillment that surpass anything the world can offer. You experience the deep satisfaction of knowing that you are in God's will, fulfilling your divine purpose. But there will be times when obedience feels like a sacrifice. You may have to say no to things that once seemed important to you. You may have to walk away from relationships or opportunities that no longer align with God's purpose for your life. These sacrifices can be difficult, but they are necessary for the fulfillment of your destiny. Remember that God is not asking you to give up anything that is for your good. He is asking you to let go of what no longer serves you, so that He can give you something greater. In this process of obedience, God is also teaching you to trust Him more deeply. The act of surrender is an ongoing journey. It's about continually yielding your will to His, moment by moment. The more you surrender, the more you realize that God's will is always the best path for your life. His ways are higher than our ways, and His plans are greater than our own. Chosen one, the journey ahead may not always be easy, but it is worth it. Every act of obedience brings you closer to the person God has called you to be. It brings you closer to the fulfillment of your purpose and the inheritance that awaits you. You are walking in the footsteps of destiny. Your obedience will leave a legacy that impacts the world for generations to come. So stay focused, stay obedient. Trust that God is with you every step of the way, and know that as you walk in alignment with His will, He is preparing you for a future filled with blessings, purpose, and impact. Your obedience is a key to unlocking the divine purpose for your life. Keep moving forward, chosen one, for the best is yet to come.